You don't miss them because you love them. You miss them because your brain got addicted to them. And that changes everything. Because if you've ever found yourself asking, why do I still miss someone who hurt me? Why do I feel drawn to someone I know was toxic? Why does letting go feel so much harder than it should? There's a reason for that, and it's not what most people think. Logically, you know the relationship was unhealthy. You remember the manipulation, the emotional instability, the moments that made you feel small, confused, or not enough. And yet, part of you still feels attached. Sometimes you even miss them. And that's the part that hurts the most, because it makes you question yourself. Most people think this means you're weak, that you lack self-control, or that you became emotionally dependent. But that's not what's happening. In many cases, what you're feeling goes far beyond simple emotional attachment. It's something much deeper, something that has to do with how your brain processes reward, stress, and connection. Because toxic relationships don't just affect your emotions, they affect your brain. And in many ways, they can create patterns that look a lot like addiction. When people leave toxic relationships, they often expect to feel immediate relief. And sometimes they do. At first, there's a sense of freedom, a sense of clarity. But then something confusing begins to happen. You start remembering the good moments. You start questioning your decision. You feel lonely, restless, emotionally unsettled, and sometimes you even begin to romanticize the very relationship that hurt you. If this feels confusing, you're not alone. This happens to more people than you think. Because while part of your mind remembers the pain, another part of your brain is still chasing the feeling, and that's where things start to make sense. Our brains are wired to form emotional bonds. When you connect with someone, your brain releases powerful chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Dopamine is linked to reward and motivation. Oxytocin creates emotional bonding and attachment. Serotonin helps regulate mood and emotional stability. In healthy relationships, these chemicals are released in a stable, predictable way. But toxic relationships work differently. Instead of consistency, they create unpredictability. Sometimes you receive affection, sometimes you receive rejection, sometimes you feel chosen, other times you feel ignored. And this pattern has a name in psychology: intermittent reinforcement. And it's one of the most powerful conditioning mechanisms that exist. Because when rewards are unpredictable, the brain works even harder to chase them. Your brain starts associating that person with emotional highs. And without realizing it, you begin to crave those moments. Over time, this creates a powerful cycle, a cycle of hope, disappointment, and emotional reward. And this is where trauma bonding begins. But it doesn't stop there, because this dynamic doesn't just affect your emotions. It affects your body. When you're in a relationship where tension, relief, affection, and rejection are constantly shifting, your nervous system never fully relaxes. Your body stays in a state of emotional alert, always waiting, always anticipating, and this activates your stress response system. Your body starts producing higher levels of cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are useful in short bursts, but when they stay elevated for too long, they start to take a toll. Sleep becomes harder. Anxiety increases. Your emotional balance becomes unstable. Your energy starts to drop. Many people describe this feeling in a very specific way. They feel exhausted, but at the same time, unable to relax. Their mind keeps replaying conversations. revisiting memories, trying to make sense of what happened, and there's a reason for that. Your brain and body became used to functioning inside that emotional cycle. So when the relationship ends, something feels off because even though the pain is gone, the pattern is still there. Your nervous system is trying to regulate itself without the stimulus it adapted to. In other words, what you're feeling is not just emotional attachment. It's your brain and your body trying to recover from a pattern they got used to. And this is exactly why healing takes time. You're not just letting go of a person. You're allowing your entire system to return to stability. And when you understand that, something important shifts. You stop blaming yourself. Because what you're experiencing is not weakness. It's a natural response to emotional instability over time. And this is why recognizing the signs of this pattern is so important. Because once you see them, you can begin to break the cycle. Because if you don't understand what's happening inside you, you will keep interpreting this attachment as something it's not. You may believe you still love them. You may believe they were the one, or that you lost something special. But what's actually happening goes much deeper than that. Your brain is not just remembering the person, it's remembering the emotional pattern, the highs, the lows, the unpredictability. And without realizing it, part of you is still trying to resolve what was never fully understood. That's why closure feels so difficult. Because your brain keeps searching for an answer that the relationship never gave you. And this is also why time alone doesn't always heal. You can move on physically, but still feel emotionally stuck. Because healing is not just about distance, it's about breaking the internal pattern your brain got used to. And once you begin to see that clearly, you stop chasing the person and start focusing on what actually needs to heal. So here are 7 signs your brain may have developed an addictive attachment to a toxic relationship. The first sign is this: you can't stop replaying the good moments. Even though the relationship caused pain, your mind keeps going back to the memories where things felt right. The laughter, the connection, the moments that made you feel seen. This happens because your brain is searching for the emotional reward it once experienced. It's trying to recreate that feeling. The second sign: you feel withdrawal when they're gone. You feel restless, anxious, emotionally empty, almost like something is missing. And in a way, it is. Because your brain became used to receiving emotional stimulation from that person. And now it has to adjust. The third sign: you keep hoping they will change. Even after everything that happened, part of you still believes that maybe this time it will be different. And that hope is powerful because it's tied to the moments when they showed you affection, vulnerability, or care. Your brain holds on to those moments as proof that the relationship could work. The fourth sign: you start blaming yourself. You think, if I had been more patient, if I had done things differently, if I had tried harder. This happens because toxic dynamics often shift responsibility onto you. And over time, your brain internalizes that pattern. The fifth sign: you crave their validation. Inconsistent affection makes validation feel more valuable. So when you receive attention, approval, or even a small sign of affection, it feels intense, and your brain begins to chase the feeling. The sixth sign: calm relationships feel unfamiliar. After emotional chaos, stability can feel strange, sometimes even boring. Not because it is, but because your nervous system became used to intensity. Without realizing it, your brain starts associating chaos with connection. And the seventh sign, you feel pulled back, even when you know better. Logically, you understand the relationship wasn't healthy, but emotionally, something still pulls you toward that person. And that internal conflict is one of the clearest signs of trauma bonding. Because your mind and your emotions are no longer aligned. Toxic relationships don't just affect how you think. They affect how your body functions. When stress becomes constant, your body produces cortisol for longer periods than it should. And this can lead to real physical symptoms, sleep disturbances, increased anxiety, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, mood instability. These are not random. They are signs that your nervous system has been under prolonged stress. The relationship didn't just affect your emotions, it affected your biology. But here's the most important part. Your brain is capable of healing. There's a concept called neuroplasticity. It means your brain can reorganize itself. It can form new patterns, new emotional responses, new ways of connecting. The same brain that formed this attachment can learn to let go. Healing begins with understanding, because when you realize this wasn't weakness, something shifts inside you. You stop blaming yourself and you start focusing on recovery. Recovery means rebuilding emotional safety. It means allowing your nervous system to slow down. It means reconnecting with stability. And over time, the emotional intensity fades, the cravings weaken, and clarity returns. So if you've ever struggled to understand why letting go felt so difficult, now you know. It wasn't just love, it was a pattern. But patterns can be broken, and healing is possible. So be honest with yourself. Which of these signs are you still experiencing? Share it in the comments, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to realize they're not alone.